Today I want to talk about our lore and our backstories. Lore is defined as our individual alters' history and how we think of ourselves, whereas backstory is part of the chronology of our body, of our system. As a new system, we typically don't have lore, but of course we do immediately have backstory because we do exist. Who better to start with than me? Well, luckily, most of my time being out, I've been on camera, so there is evidence of it. However, I came about when our old system, decided that it was just not performing the way that it needed to perform. There was too many alters that they were very similar to other alters, and only memories was different between them. So the old system looked at all these and thought that the best way to recombine everything is just to start over. I guess this part is my actual lore. I'm created from pure amalgamations, not specific alter parts. So I imagine that just like pure mental energy and just being and identity just mashed together to have someone out front for the situation that we were in at the time. And it wasn't a bad situation. It was just stressful enough to trigger a response, but not bad enough for anything bad to happen. It was just like, oh, let's ride this energy into more change. I had literally no idea what was going on. And my best friend was there, and they're like, look, you need a name? I'm gonna call you Bumblebee. And so there's my name, Bumblebee. I dropped the Bumble part because B is just easier, and me trying to say Bumble fast is not plausible. I mumble enough as it is. We don't need to add on to that. Next we have Zero. As I've said before, Zero is the combination of the old Zero, an alter named Ellie, and a little bit of extra stuff to make this Zero her own self. She's the only one with real lore that goes in depth as to why she can't talk, and her backstory is a little bit more involved, seeing as how she's the product of two other alters fusing from our old system. Not fully, but we'll get into that in a sec. So why can't Zero talk? Well, it's purely psychosomatic. So she has access to the vocal cords, she has an inner voice and her own pitch and all that good jazz, but she simply cannot talk. In fact, all sound that she tries to make is purely in her head. When we laugh as she's fronting, there's no sound. She has to touch things to get our best friend's attention, or really anyone's attention, but she typically only comes out for our best friend. The only hint that we have as to why is when we look at Ellie. Ellie was mute for reasons we still didn't quite figure out. But it makes sense that Zero took on that trait, considering the old Zero was our sort of head down and work type alter, and our Zero is very similar. Our Zero, however, isn't so monotonous, and isn't so rigid. She has a lot of likes and a lot of dislikes. She can go into a sort of workaholic blinders on type mode, but typically she's a lot more flux. We think that she took some of the pieces of Bella, because she also has a lot lighter, airy personality to her in the inner world, where it's more like carefree rather than by the book and by the rules. It's time for Alter Dive number 3. Here we have Jinx. Jinx is born from our impulsive side. She handles all the crazy thoughts and impulsive things that are positive. Absolutely no one claims the impulsive thoughts that just pop in your head like, oh, drive off a cliff. No, don't do that. Her thing is more the dark humor, the twisted sense of humors, finding joy in just the weirdest places. Like me, she's very high energy, but unlike me, she is more driven towards not being, well, what we think we should be. We affectionately call her our little psycho because she's into horrorcore and makes that her personality. Characters like Harley Quinn and Jinx from Arcane are prime examples of the kinds of things that she's going after. She wants to make it known that Harley Quinn post-Joker, because Joker is her backstory. So is there any other specific lore about her? Kind of, but not really. Is there more backstory? Yes. She comes from parts of Bella that took on things and traits of when we were younger and when we were teenagers and falling into specific scenes. She embodies that sort of fuck around and find out mentality in all the best ways, but now with the logic of we probably shouldn't do certain things, shouldn't say certain things. It's also fair enough to call her a little gremlin, so take that. Is Ultra Dive number 4. We've talked about me, we've talked about Zero, we've talked about Jinx. Now we talk about the other one. We said that Zero is the only one with lore, but that's not quite true. Even now, after almost 2 weeks, I think, of us being out and being in our own new system, we're starting to learn the lore and backstory of everyone in our current system, which means that the other one is also gaining more clarity in their lore and backstory. Immediately we handle the fact, no, the other one is not their name. That is not what we call them in our world. We will not, however, be sharing their name or their namesake. That is for respect of the other one and the other people who is involved with that story. Now, let's get into the good bits, shall we? So immediately we have that the other one was formed during those first few hours, and the first thing that she heard was this TikTok sound playing over and over and over in our heads. I had already been named, and Zero had already claimed that name, so she thought that was her name. Now, that being said, she decided to keep the name despite everything. She's just very comfortable with it, you know? It just doesn't bother her, it doesn't bother us. But again, we present her as the other one so that she can have her identity online being established without compromising ourselves and those whose story that belongs to. What about backstory? So how she formed visually in our head, in our inner world, is very reminiscent of this. So we drew this picture, hold on. We drew this picture when we were 17, and this was what our old system thought that we would look like had we been born a girl. For the longest time, it was actually very accurate. With the distribution of fat from our male selves, this picture was what we modeled ourselves after. The blonde hair, the eyeliner, the dark garb. So when the other one came about, naturally, she adopted something similar to this. However, we claim this black hair as our true hair color, so this is the hair color that, yes, we dye it, but this is how we feel the most comfortable, and that extends into the other one's tastes. Now, she would like to make it known that she would be wearing darker clothes than just a white Linkin Park shirt and some fishnets, but unfortunately, at our size, we don't get drip pants. In her world, however, she does. She has the chains, the flare bottoms. It's just a whole vibe, and she loves every second of it. Her first moments out were here at work, and so that's where all she knows. And so she handles the in-person interpersonal relationships. However, once we get home, she clocks out. Like, she's done. So remember to be safe, be kind to another, see you out there. We don't need to make it more so. And bye for now.